And I call on Deputy Niamh Smith, who is sharing her time with Deputy Eugene Murphy.
Thank you, Laskin Corley. I'm pleased to have the opportunity to speak about this bill on behalf of the Fianna Fáil Parliamentary Party, and I'd like to thank Deputy Brophy for his efforts in bringing this bill forward. While in government, Fianna Fáil took a number of important steps to commemorate and honour Ireland's history, including the Great Famine, one of Ireland's most significant tragedies. This bill comes at a fitting moment in Irish history. Beginning in 1845 with the failure of the potato crop, the famine lasted for 6 years and saw the loss of 1.1 million lives. Taking into account the 2 million people who emigrated during the famine, the population of Ireland declined by about a third due to the famine. In the years preceding the famine, the collapse of the Irish manufacturing and sharp increases to our population gave rise to an intense fracturing of the Irish agricultural holdings. By 1841, 45% of the agricultural holdings in Ireland were under 5 acres. As the size of the average agricultural holding dwindled, so too did the diversity of the average Irish peasant's diet. Peasants who had previously supplemented their staple diet of potatoes with herrings, milk and meat were increasingly reliant on potatoes alone for their sustenance. Potatoes were a remarkably high-yield crop. A single acre of potato ground could produce up to 6 tonnes of food, enough to maintain a family of 6 for an entire year. The peasants' reliance on potato became, however, with significant risk. While Ireland had initially rejoiced in its apparent escape from the terrible blight that had swept through much of Europe and England, by late 1845 Irish papers were beginning to report fears that it had reached Irish shores. As the late harvest, the main potato crop, was taken out of the ground in October of 1845, the people's worst fears were confirmed. Historian John Kelly described how men wept openly as half-ruined potatoes were lifted from the ground and shovels dropped as labourers, soaked through to the skin with rain, filed out of the fields like mourners. The speed with which the blight had swept astounded farmers and scientists alike. Even seemingly healthy potatoes could quickly decay in storage, further impeding Ireland's food supply. By late 1845, the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom had initiated a poverty relief programme in Ireland. Corn maize was to be imported to Ireland, distributed by local relief committees and then sold to peasants at cost price. Public works schemes would allow peasants to earn the cash wages needed to purchase corn maize. This model of relief would not only provide minimum poverty alleviation, but it also hoped to modernise Ireland. This plan hinged, however, on a number of faulty assumptions about the nature of Ireland's history and infrastructure. In the first instance, the success of the aid plan depended on the willingness of Ireland's noble classes to administer and support it. Unfortunately, Ireland's landlords were rather indifferent to the suffering of the peasants around them, and in some cases viewed the widespread eviction and perishing as furthering their own interests. Second, the plan relied on a modern distribution and logistical infrastructure which was unfortunately absent from Ireland. This was an unfortunate pattern which was to continue throughout the Great Famine, one in which the British Government was, for a variety of reasons, unwilling to amend its plan to better address the specific Irish context. The lessons we learn from the famine ought to guide us in our understanding of the bill. At its heart, commemoration is the process through which we remind ourselves of the events and the people who have gone before us. It is the recognition of the links which bind our past and our present. As we reflect on our history of the famine, it is imperative that we reflect too on the present reality of famine across the globe. While Ireland has had a significant great fortune of avoiding such widespread starvation since the 19th century, other nations have not. Perhaps as a result of our experience, Ireland has a rich history of giving to those most in need. Commemorating the famine is a moral obligation. We must mark the dead and why they suffered. We must remember the cold indifference of the removed government who overlooked the deprivation of the people under its charge. More than a day in the year, it must be an enduring lesson. a lesson that should colour our policies and drive our commitment to those who find themselves in the same desolation this island once was cast in. I hope that this bill is read in that light and helps to serve as a testament to the legacy. Thank you, Ceann Comhairle.